Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have 3 questions to ask by a show of hands. How many of you want to become a nurse after graduating Coppin State University? Okay, that's cool. And how many of you wish to become educators upon graduating? Oh, okay, that's cool. All right. And for my last question, how many of you wish to become authors or writers? That's awesome. So about 75% of the class wants to become any of those three. Well, I'm pleased to present to you information on Susie King Taylor, the African American woman who has all three career achievements under her belt. Born as a slave, Susie King Taylor managed to obtain an education, check, become a famous nurse, check, teach in the Civil War era, check, and become the first African American woman to publish her own memoir, check. As an early advocate for human rights, she learned to judge people not by color, but by actions. Susie King Taylor was an educator, activist, nurse, and author. Although she was born a slave, she attended secret schools taught by black women. She extended her education with 2 white children who taught her more about nursing, soldiers back to health, and also expanding her vocabulary. Mrs. King Taylor obtained books and organized a school in the St. Thomas Islands, where she became the first black teacher for freed African Americans. She established another school for freed African Americans in Liberty County, which was where she was born and raised. She also taught many black soldiers to read and write during their off duty in the Civil War. So while nursing these soldiers back to health, she was also teaching them to read and to write. According to Sarah King Taylor, I gave my services willingly, directly quoted from her memoir. Mrs. King Taylor traveled with her husband, who was a part of the 33rd Regiment, the United States Colored Troops, in 1863. She began nursing the sick and wounded. She used a combination of traditional and folk remedies that she had been taught. She also met and worked with Claire Barton, the Civil War nurse who later founded the American Red Cross. Taylor spent 4 years without pay or any formal training, nursing sick and wounded members of a black regiment of Union soldiers. In addition, she worked as a camp cook, a laundress, and a teacher. In my opinion, this awesome African American woman deserves countless number of awards and books about her life, which brings me to my next point. She was the first black woman to write and publish her own memoir entitled Reminiscences of My Life in Camp, an African American woman's Civil War memoir. She probably published this in 1902. She became the first African American nurse to write about her wartime experiences. In her memoirs, she expressed her disappointment that there was still injustices toward black people after the war. She stated in her memoir that the South would be the only place to live if there were only allowed justice. So even though Susie King Taylor was born a slave, she still managed to overcome and become an educator, check, a nurse, check, an activist, and an author, check. Thank you.